Now, in our next example, we're told AB is 50 feet. We're told BC is 20 feet. We're told C to D is 50 feet. We're told A to D is 20 feet. We're told A to C is 54 feet, so this whole length is 54. And we're told B to D is also 54. I don't know if you can see that 54. And I want you to prove that it's a rectangle. So we're going to do a paragraph proof here. So first off, in order to show it's a rectangle, we got to show it's a parallelogram. Is it a parallelogram? Yes, it is. It's a parallelogram, so we're going to say ABCD is a parallelogram. Why? Because the opposite sides are congruent. Now that you know it's a parallelogram, it's a rectangle because notice the diagonals are equal. So then I say ABCD is a rectangle because the diagonals are congruent in a parallelogram. And we showed it was a parallelogram with the first sentence. So there you have it. Okay, let's take a look at this example. We've got quadrilateral GHJK has vertices at G, which is at negative 3, 0. So I think I'm going to do is I'm going to label these. So G is at negative 3, 0. H is at 3 and 2. J is at 4 and negative 1. And K is at negative 2 and negative 3. And I want you to determine it's a rectangle, but I want you to use the distance formula. So to find the distance formula, just like we did in the last one, first you got to show it's a parallelogram. So let's find the distance from G to H. We're going to use our distance formula. Remember our distance formula? Subtract the x's and square them. Subtract the y's and square them. So we're going to go 3 minus a negative 3 for G to H. Plus 2 minus 0. I'm just going to write 2 there if that's okay. 3 minus negative 3 is 6, so it's 6 squared plus 4, which is the square root of 36 plus 4, which is the square root of 40. Now let's turn around and let's find the distance from H to J. If it's okay, I'm going to do some of this mentally. If I make a mistake, then we'll go back and we'll show some more work. So to find my distance, I subtract my x's, so it's 4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So it'll be 1 squared plus, then we'll go negative 1 minus 2, and that is negative 3 squared. So 1 squared is 1. Negative 3 squared is 9. So we get the square root of 10. Notice I didn't simplify them because I'm just trying to see if they're equal. I don't have to actually do anything else. So now let's turn around and let's find I to K. So now we'll do I to K. And we'll subtract our x's. 4 minus a negative 2. Well, that's 6. Plus negative 1 minus a negative 3. That's 2. So we get the square root of 36 plus 4. It's the square root of 40. Notice IK and GH are the same. We kind of like that. That's what we wanted it to do. Now let's turn around and let's find G to K. And we'll subtract our x's again. So I'll say negative 2 minus a negative 3. Well, that will be 1. And then we'll say negative 3 minus 0. Well, that'll be negative 3 squared. Well, positive 1 squared is 1. Negative 3 squared is 9. We get the square root of 10. And there we look at that. H to J and G to K, they're the same. So at this point, I know I've got myself a parallelogram. If all I had to do was show us a parallelogram, I'd be done. So I know GH, JK is a parallelogram. We use the distance formula to find that. Now to show it's a rectangle, I want to measure the diagonals. So I'm going to go G to J and H to K. So let's start here with G to J. I'll subtract my x coordinates first. 4 minus a negative 3, well, that's going to be 7. And then we'll go negative 1 minus 0, well, it'll be negative 1. So we get the square root of 49 plus 1 is the square root of 50. Now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to find HK. So 3 minus a negative 2, well, that's 5. And 2 minus a negative, oh, that's 5 squared again, isn't it? So we get the square root of 25 plus 25. Oh, my diagonals are the same length. And I've got a parallelogram. So I've just proved that GHJK is a rectangle. Because it's a parallelogram with diagonals that are equal. That's using the distance formula. Sometimes you might want to lose slope because you can show a rectangle. A parallelogram is a rectangle by using slope because if you know the slopes are opposite reciprocals, then it's a parallelogram.